Today's youth need teachers, volunteers, and most of all, well, they need you. I'm Doug Edwards, and I'm going to be talking with real youth mentors and students to give you the knowledge you need to be the best youth worker possible. This is Youth Worker on Fire.
Oh, you're trying to bring me down and run me out of town. You're taking what you want, but you can't take my rhythm now. I'm walking to my own beat, just gonna be me. I'm not replicating nobody.
For those of you who don't know her, and that means almost all of you, I have three sisters, and this is my oldest sister, Deborah. Deborah went on many adventures. We went on adventures together when I was a freshman. She was a senior in high school. And she was my piano accompanist since I was, fourth grade, Deb? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's when our parents didn't know I was a singer, and then won a contest or auditioned and got it, and you started playing for me at that point, and Deborah's always been a great piano player. But at 15, when you're a senior at high school, we got in this trumpet trio thing. Tommy Honeycutt? Honeycutt was his last name, right, Tommy?
Mm-hmm. Tommy Honeycutt and
Milton
Lowe.
Milton Lowe, that's it. Those guys asked if we would join them because they were already playing. And so what happened then? Tell everybody what happened after we started playing together for a while.
Yeah, well, that was a lot of fun. Because I'd much rather accompany someone than play by myself for sure. So we were asked to play at different churches, but we were also asked to play. We had camp meetings back then. After we played at one of the camp meeting nights, someone came to us and asked us, it was just out of the blue, if we would like to travel with a group from Gastonia across the United States and back one summer. And of course we had to, talk to our parents, and Mom and Dad were always supportive of what we did, always encouraged us if we were really interested in something, not just music, but other things. But they were very encouraging to us, and they gave us their permission and actually drove us to Gastonia every Sunday. I don't know how many Sundays they did that for us to practice. Do you remember?
It was quite a few, because I don't remember when camp meeting was, but I think it was like February through June or something like that they did that. And it was like a 3-hour round trip because of the way the roads were at that point. I think it was like an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes there. And that was after church. And then they would wait on us, and then we would come back, and we were always a three meeting a week church. So we had Sunday morning and Sunday night. So we'd get back and have church service. Yeah.
But we did that, and that was quite an experience. That was once in a lifetime experience. It
was coast to coast, and at a time when that wasn't happening.
No,
people didn't do that.
You were so good at playing, and memorizing just about everything that you played, and but I always loved accompanying you. I was always so proud of you.
Well, I was proud of you too, and we still do that occasionally when I come in, and that's the great thing, because this whole podcast is about longevity and student ministry and stuff, and it was those people who set the pace for us. That was Doug Childress and his wife, and that were in Gastonia as music directors for a long time, and then our youth workers, Ronnie and Maxine Kennedy. Basically, they capitalized on that because they started a music team at our church back home, and so we got to play a lot of music for a few years.
And it was they were a great support for us too. And actually, the community was, I will have to say, when we gave the musical life, we had, it was live music. Life was the name of the musical. And so we had live instruments accompanying, the choir, the youth choir. We gave that that musical at the Armory. Wasn't it after a ball game?
We did, didn't we? I'd forgotten all
Yeah.
about that. Yeah, yeah.
And I will say, too, that the band director, Chester Litwin, was always supportive of us.
Yeah, he was. The band director gave up part of the time for us because he believed in, maybe we'd call it entrepreneurial music.
That's probably what it was back then.
But right, any of us that were doing our own thing over and above, that just, and he was from Chicago originally, and I think he used to play with Woody Herman or somebody like that, went to school with Tommy Dorsey, I believe. I mean, he was older when we had him, but he had stayed a lifetime there and spent his entire life in Thomas, North Carolina. And
Yeah, there were just so many opportunities for us.
You did one summer in Hendersonville, North Carolina at the camp.
It was a Civitan camp.
Civitan Citizenship Center camp, right. And those guys had played a big role. He had done our youth camps while we were in middle school, high school. I think Larry was in charge of that, as well as being a pastor. Tell everybody a little bit about the Civitan Citizenship Center and what they allowed Larry to do and what we did.
Yeah, because it wasn't a church camp, but they still allowed us to minister. And that was, and the thing about it is, Larry and Pat, I felt really privileged to be asked to go and be a counselor and to be able to be a part of what he was doing. But and I guess the kids were probably all from North Carolina. I mean, I don't even remember.
These were students that were chosen by their Civitans clubs from the high schools, the best of the best. So from the Southeastern United States, we got the best of the best students, intelligently, physically, whether they're sports or government or whatever. And they were considered great citizens, of their area and nominated by the Civitans clubs. And they knew Larry was a pastor and he said, well, I'm not going to stop acting like a pastor or stop telling about Jesus. This is one thing I'm going to do. They said, nope, you're fine. We're fine with it. And I think he did that camp for maybe 6-7 years and spoke all over the Southeastern United States. At least he may have spoken all over the nation. I don't know. He was a junior high teacher, a public school, junior high or middle school teacher, and a pastor full-time, and a camp director and full-time speaker. I mean, how do you do all that? He did it all, and he did it all well.
I was not an outgoing personality kind of person. I was rather shy. Given an opportunity to be able to work with young people like that, and the experience of just being with all of you guys too. It was a great team. So we got to do the music part again, and funny skits, which I remember
Yes.
that you guys did. Yeah, and just being with Larry and Pat also. They were a great team that we got to be part of.
With those guys, we went to, this is North Carolina people. Most people know where Asheville is in North Carolina, but this is Hendersonville, closer to Charlotte, actually. There was a place called Flat Rock, and we would go to the Flat Rock Theater, and every week for 6 weeks, because we'd have a new group of students every 6 weeks, we'd go see Our Town. Wasn't that the play?
I don't remember.
Well, it was. I talked about it the other day, and it is Our Town. And it was so funny. It was good every week because we had new students every week to watch it with for 6 weeks. And then we would go and see Carl Sandburg's place. And Carl Sandburg was a great author. We got to see his library and the place. I don't know if they had goats coming in and out, but he had regularly, his goats were able to come in and out of the house all they want. The doors were usually wide open. He was loved by the world and hated by his neighbors. I thought that was unique as a great author. So we're talking about long-term and not just always the guys working in student ministry, but sometimes the effects on all of us. And because of our age and because we get to raise our children up and things, So tell us about your children and their adolescence in middle school, high school, and even college, and some of the effects that student ministry had on them and what they did.
When we moved back here, we were used to First Baptist Bossier, big church, and we were trying to find a church that our children could be involved in and grow up with friends and have good, solid biblical teaching. And we felt like that was so important. And so we drove quite a distance to Calvary in Winston every Sunday, but we were not going, on Wednesday night. And that's when they usually had the programs, for the kids. Now, my girls were 7. Jana was 7. We moved back here and in North Carolina, and Lindsay was 18 months old when we moved back. And so we decided, we would, do that, and then felt like, that was a great church. But then we found out that they were not making any connections, with friends their own age. I mean, people their own age, and we felt like that was important. One Sunday, actually, on our way to Calvary, we decided to make a turn there at the Big Chair in Thomasville, and we went to Richford, and the church sanctuary had burned a couple of years before we had moved back to town, and we had never attended there at all growing up. We started attending there, and Jana made one friend that was her age, and was the only person her age, and that was the pastor's daughter. And Lindsay, I think she was the only one in the nursery. And then there was, then a couple of, kids her age came along. So it was not a really big church at all. We felt like the Lord led us there. I got a phone call, and someone asked me if I could come and play the piano for choir practice. And I'm thinking, well, how do they even know that I even play the piano? I hadn't told anyone. And so I filled in for this, the pianist there, and she never came back. So I continued to be the pianist at Richfork. And our girls, grew up there, and they were very involved in missions, the GAs and Mission Friends. And it was a great church, and I'm talking about the people, for our girls to grow up. You were responsible for my girls getting into missions and becoming really interested in that, and they went on their first mission trip with your group.
Yeah, separately. Jana went, and then Lindsay went later, right? Those are border town trips that we did with Mission Discovery, just for middle schoolers. I mean, they had them for high schools, but the particular week I took Jana, and then later Lindsay in another year, because she's younger, of course. Longevity is what it's all about, passing on what you've learned, passing on what somebody has poured into you, pouring it into others, pouring it into your family. And Deborah's still a piano teacher. She was a kindergarten teacher till she retired, and then she's played the piano and taught piano all those years as well. And now that's part of her retirement, is that she still teaches piano, and still probably I would say the best piano teacher in probably the 4-city area.
Well, thanks for the compliment, but we have quite a few piano teachers in this area.
Yeah, like I said, you're the best, and the rest are mediocre. But anyway, that's, don't tell them I said that.
Oh,
they're not going to listen to this. Anyway, anything else you want to say to youth workers?
Trust in Him and follow Him, and be a witness to others and lead them to Christ. And I always felt like, I asked my girls later, they're grown, they're married, they have kids of their own. And I said, did you ever feel like you just did not want to be at church. You know, I mean, you were there all the time. And that was really, that's just what we did, you know, and involved in, you know, whether it was musicals or you know, worshiping, you know, through music. And I taught Sunday school, you know, but we were there a lot. And the girls were so involved, you know, with their youth programs. And both of them said, no, we love church. We love going to church, even though we were there a lot, you know. And Lindsay, I tell you, her birthday fell right there in December when we were doing all the practices, you know, for our Christmas program. And, you know, so we celebrated her birthday, maybe not right on her birthday. But I mean, you know, it seemed like the practice would always fall right there. But they still, but they're doing the same thing at their church.
I'm going to let you get some rest now. You've got more than a plate full. We can't eat. We don't even have time to talk about all the things that Deborah has done to help our family, rescue our family. And we have a sister, Deanna, that she's taking care of right now. Deanna was in student ministry and all those things and loves Jesus. And she's been sick since she was born, though. And so she has had a lifetime of problems. And mom and dad are gone, so Deborah takes care of her, she and Howard. Dawn is down in Florida with us, except a couple hours away over in Plant City near Tampa. All right, listen, I'm going to let you go. Get some rest tonight. And thank you so much. And have a good night. Love you, dear.
All right. Love you.
You've been listening to the Youth Worker on Fire podcast. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and tell your friends. Also, leave a comment and tell us what you think. Stay tuned for more informative episodes.